I'm gonna start this video off with a confession. I was not excited for Incredibles 2. In fact, I hated the very idea of it. I hated that grown niggas got in a room and thought with their hardest capabilities, how can I fuck up something great? And then the idea of Incredibles 2 came out. Mind you, these are my thoughts pre-watching the movie. These are my thoughts actually just seeing the announcements of a sequel being made. And the reason why I feel like this is only because of the greatness that is the originals Incredibles. You see, The Incredibles is sacred text. That shit is cinema. That's the kind of movie you don't reboot, you don't remake, and that doesn't need a sequel, in my opinion. Unless you're absolutely sure. So when Incredibles 2 finally dropped, my expectations were kind of mixed. They were extremely high while simultaneously extremely low. And I know you niggas are probably watching this shit like, bro, that shit doesn't make any fucking sense. And to be honest, I can't even explain to you how that shit makes sense because I really love the original movie and that shit is peak. Like, have you seen it?
Oh, come on! You gotta admit this is cool!
So I'm thinking like this shit has to be peak as well, but then at the same time, I'm like, okay, that's an unrealistic expectation for a sequel. You know, you can only find gold once.
Gold, who's got gold? Woo, I got some gold.
Okay, so maybe it could be a little bit worse, but then I'm thinking like, is that dropping my expectations, just expecting to be worse? I don't know. Shit gave me a headache. I didn't want to think about it anymore. So inevitably, I just didn't watch it. And usually I don't really care about sequels because sequels usually crumble under the weight of nostalgia, fan service, or just studio panic. Panicking to push out something, anything to touch the original. But then I put on my big boy pants and finally watched Incredibles 2. And damn, I was wrong. This movie's great. It's pretty great. I actually like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Shit was fantastic. Incredibles 2 was pretty fucking good, and I actually felt pretty dumb, stupid, and like an asshole for waiting this long to watch it. I am not lying to you. I watched it literally the first week of 2026. I'm aware that everybody watching this video has probably seen this movie 30 times before I even seen it this once. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna talk about it, and yeah. So enjoy the video. So to understand why the sequel works, you really have to look at the original. You see, the original Incredibles movie isn't just a superhero movie. It's more like a domestic drama, kind of disguised as a superhero movie. Think about it. Bob isn't sad because he can't punch villains. He's sad because society told him being exceptional is inconvenient. Mr. Incredible struggles so hard because he goes from fighting villains to fighting irrelevancy. You have a father stuck in a midlife crisis, missing the glory days, a mother carrying the emotional labor and weight of the family, two kids being told to suppress who they are. And because of that, they're both struggling with individuality and identity. And that's why scenes like Bob secretly trying to relive his glory days or slamming his car door in frustration because he's getting chastised for trying to help somebody hits so hard. Like I said, on the surface, sure, Incredibles is a superhero adventure film. But in reality, when you really look at it, it's really a domestic drama about identity, suppression, and self-actualization, all wrapped in spandex. What made Incredibles exceptional isn't the action or the spectacle. It's the idea that superpowers are not the gimmick, but metaphor. Every ability reflects a character's emotional state, their internal conflict, and their role within both the family and the narrative. The movie isn't asking what if a family had power. It's asking what happens when people are told to deny who they are.
That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Individually, the family is incomplete, but together, they're unstoppable. Each family member's powers complements the other. Bob provides strength, Helen provides structure, Violet provides protection, and Dash provides the momentum. The film's ultimate statement is very clear. True heroism isn't individual greatness. It's really collective purpose. And this still works today. It's a film about suppression versus expression, identity versus comfortability, and strength versus adaptability. And it never loses sight of that emotional core. That is why this movie is so damn good. Because for a fucking kid movie, that is a lot of topics and themes to attack in one movie, but yet it does, and it does them all so well. So I need Incredibles 2 to do that as well. Sequels have one job: don't embarrass the original. And when the original is The Incredibles, a film that casually dropped one of the greatest family superhero movies of all time, that job becomes pretty much borderline impossible, or at least so I thought, because The Incredibles wasn't just good, it was lightning in a bottle. Brad Bird gave us a story about midlife crisis, suppressed identities, broken systems, and family dysfunction, and wrapped all that shit up in spandex and Pixar level charm. It was wonderful.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
But as I said before, Incredibles 2 doesn't just justify its existence. And that's because, in my opinion, Incredibles 2 understands the most dangerous rule of sequels. You don't repeat the original, you continue it. And I know that seems very simple, right? Like, that's the goal every sequel is supposed to accomplish. Well, as I said before, sequels nowadays have ulterior motives for why they're made, and it always shows in the writing and plot. But you know, one of the boldest and smartest decisions Incredibles 2 makes is that it starts immediately where the first film ends. Not years later, not some type of soft reboot, not the kids are teenagers now. We open with the Underminer fight. And you see, this is more important than you think, because the original Incredibles ends with victory. It makes us feel like our heroes got their happy ending. But here, at the beginning of this movie, we find out that that happy ending is immediately followed by consequences. The city is destroyed, cars are flipped, buildings are crushed, and the public reaction isn't "thank you, heroes." It's "who the fuck is paying for this shit?" Like, Bob, that's my fucking car. Buddy, it wasn't paid off yet. And you see, that becomes the main thesis of Incredibles 2. Because superheroism isn't illegal due to villainy, it's illegal due to liability. And I gotta say, that's pretty great for a kid movie concept. You see, this hooked me in instantly because this immediately grounded the sequel for me. The Underminer fight is chaotic, destructive, and messy, and that's intentional, because this sequel isn't about whether superheroes should exist. It's asking if society can truly handle them. The public backlash after the fight mirrors the opening of the very first movie. This is expansion done right. Right off the intro of this movie, my interest was piqued. But that's not where it stopped. The smartest move Incredibles 2 makes? Making Helen the actual lead of this movie. It's honest, character-driven logic, and it makes complete sense given the narrative. You see, the superheroes are trying to regain the trust of the public, and they want to make Elastigirl the face of all superheroes, so that she can solely regain the public image and trust of superheroes. And it makes complete sense. You see, Bob, her husband, is impulsive. Helen is precise. If superheroes are trying to regain public trust, Elastigirl is the better symbol. It makes complete sense in every way. Meanwhile, my guy Bob stays home with the kids. You see, Bob struggles with parenting, and it's supposed to mirror his identity crisis from the first film. In The Incredibles, Bob felt useless because he couldn't be a hero. But in Incredibles 2, he feels useless because heroism isn't where he's needed anymore. At least not for right now. And that's why being a stay-at-home dad stresses Bob out so much.
I think I miss my wife.
Helen is the emotional backbone of Incredibles 2. In the first film, Helen's arc is about restraint, holding the family together, suppressing powers, and maintaining order. But in Incredibles 2, she becomes the face of change. When Winston recruits Elastigirl to rehabilitate superheroes, the decision isn't random.
Connections and, very important, insurance.
Darnell, that's you.
She's precise. Her motorcycle chase scene demonstrates this perfectly. She bends instead of breaking, she adapts instead of dominating, she stretches the situation to keep it contained and in control, directly responding to the public's fear from the first movie and the opening of this movie. Now contrast this with Bob's early fights in the first movie. In those, you have nothing but raw power and explosive solution. Helen is supposed to represent evolved heroism. On the other hand, Bob's arc in Incredibles 2, probably the most underrated part of the movie, because it's not very flashy and you can easily miss it behind all the comedy. Bob's arc in the second movie is humiliating, and it's supposed to be. Bob goes from world-saving alpha dad to sleep deprivation and math that feels like alien fucking hieroglyphics.
I don't know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
I'll just wait for Mom to get back.
And yeah, it's funny, but it's also supposed to be devastating for Bob. In the first film, Bob struggles with relevancy, but in the sequel, he struggles with competence. He wants to be supportive. He tries to be. In the second movie, his arc peaks not in a punch, but in humility. Another thing that I really did love about this movie is just giving the kids a chance to steal the spotlight again. I love how in the second act of both movies, the kids are the ones who natively have to save everybody. Especially because Violet and Dash are such good characters. Violet and Dash are awesome, bro, and I really love their powers. And the only thing I can say is I want to see more of these guys. Dash, Violet, and Jack have some of the coolest powers in the universe. But then that brings me to the villain of this movie, Screensaver. Oh shit, my fault. The nigga named Screenslaver. My fault. I'm making this video like a couple days after the movie. Ain't gonna lie though, bro, your new name Screensaver though. That shit too funny. So yeah, let's talk about Screensaver. And I was pretty conflicted about Screensaver because at first he gave me typical predictable Batman villain. And yes, the twist was very predictable as well too.
What if the pizza guy is really a pizza guy, but it was controlled by the screens built into his glass?
You are good.
But it didn't really make it bad because when I really sat back and thought about it, I realized that Screensaver isn't really supposed to be the villain. The idea is Screensaver represents passive consumption. The idea that people would rather watch heroism than engage with responsibility. Hypnotized civilians staring at screens feels uncomfortably modern. Pixar is basically telling people, y'all niggas keep doom scrolling instead of helping. And I feel like that was a pretty great message for this movie, especially looking at the state of the world right now. Shit is beyond cooked.
Dude, oh my god, can we talk about the political and economic state of the world right now?
But Evelyn's motivation ties perfectly into the franchise's core theme. She doesn't hate superheroes because they're dangerous. She hates them because they make people stop believing in themselves. Screensaver represents cultural sedation, people choosing observation over action. She hates dependency, and that nuance genuinely elevates the conflict. Even though I was mostly wrong about this movie, there are still some things I did not like too much. So I'm gonna take this time to now talk about those things. Even though I did say I liked the way they mirrored the intro of the first movie with the second one, I do think it mirrors the first movie a little too much. When you break it down, both the Incredible movies follow the same layout. One parent gets recruited for a secret job, the other parent stays home struggling with the domestic life, the villain is revealed and also tied to the mission in some way, shape, or form, and then the kids eventually join in on the battle late. In the first film, Bob's arc was about ego and midlife crisis. For me, in the sequel, Helen's arc doesn't really go anywhere. Even though I really did enjoy them making Helen the main focus, her arc just did not feel like it went anywhere meaningful, which is a shame because she was the main and primary focus of this movie. The movie doesn't really do anything to push or evolve her arc or themes. It just kind of lazily swaps their roles from the first movie. There's no thematic growth at all, which is pretty disappointing because as I said at the beginning of the video, I like when my sequels expand things. Expand the story, expand the lore, expand the themes, expand the ideas. Do not retell or remix them. That is very lazy and boring. And I know we just got done talking about Screensaver, but I'm gonna talk about her again. The idea of Screensaver is a villain criticizing society's dependency. Society's dependency on screens, technology, superheroes, and just people in general. And ideally, this isn't a bad concept. Like I said before, I kind of liked it, but the execution was so lackluster. Unlike Syndrome from the first movie, who had a deeply personal grudge against Mr. Incredible, Screensaver doesn't really have a strong personal emotional connection to the Parr family. She just kind of doesn't like superheroes in general. The plot twist is also pretty lackluster and a little bit anticlimactic. Even though Evelyn's motivation is conceptually interesting and understandable, it's very much underdeveloped, and they don't really give it any chance to sit or develop with the audience. She's kind of beaten very quickly. And for me, it just didn't really hit that well because superhero movies really hit and thrive when the stakes are personal. At least that's what I feel like. The more personal the stakes, the better the climax. And Evelyn's conflict with the Parr family just did not really cut it for me. Which led me to another thing I really didn't like too much. The family dynamic felt a bit smaller in this movie. In the original film, every family member had a meaningful arc. Bob learned humility, which he then had to relearn again in this movie for some reason. Violet gained confidence, and Dash learned restraint. These were all full developed arcs that happened in the first movie. In Incredibles 2, Violet and Dash feel very much sidelined until the very end of the movie. Every major character's emotional growth felt a lot smaller. Kind of felt like a little personality from each character was missing in this movie. The first movie deconstructed superhero nostalgia and masculinity in bold and refreshing ways. The sequel plays it pretty safe, a little too safe. And I think that's where most of my critiques are coming from. It doesn't try anything innovative or new. It doesn't try to deeply explore the world, the politics of the superhero legality, public fear of power, or the long-term impact of collateral damage, like I thought they were going to when I watched the opening of the movie. Instead, they just kind of briefly hint over these themes, but they never fully dive into them. For a 14-year wait for a sequel, this feels surprisingly conservative. I guess the biggest sin that this movie has is it doesn't really have any ambition. And I gotta say, Jack was a huge disappointment for me. See, after the big reveal in the first movie that Jack was basically Franklin Richards 2.0, I thought he was gonna be doing a lot of cool shit in this movie. But that really wasn't the case. Jack is really only extended to comedic sequences, and the movie only really treats him like a spectacle or gag. There is really no emotional stakes or any type of interesting writing in Jack in this movie. And I'm not gonna say it fully brings down the overall movie because it's a kids movie, and so I understand why you made the baby the running gag of the movie, but definitely felt a little lazy, and I feel like they could have did a little bit more there. This movie played it very safe when it didn't really need to. Incredibles 2 is not a bad sequel, but I do think they hurt it a lot by playing it so safe and being so conservative. In this movie, you can tell that they really restrained the story, and I feel like that lack of ambition and heart is exactly what this movie was missing to put it on the same level as the first one.
I am sorry, my mentor. I have failed you.
Nevertheless, Incredibles 2 is polished. It's entertaining and visually very good to look at. The animation is amazing. Even though I did like it, compared to the first film's layered character arcs, does Incredibles 2 justify its existence? I think so. It doesn't erase growth, it doesn't chase trends, and it evolves its characters honestly. Incredibles 2 proves that greatness isn't about repeating perfection, it's about carrying it forward, which honestly is pretty incredible. Y'all niggas should have seen that shit coming. Y'all niggas should have seen that one coming. I had to get one off, my fault. See you on the next one.